Hello, I am Dr. Santosh Kumar, orthopedic and joint replacement surgeon, mostly interested in hip and knee surgery, based in Kolkata, and I am here to answer the queries that you have been sending me. And you can send all your queries to me at my mail ID santdr@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp me at 9831 911 584. So the questions today we will be dealing with is regarding hip, problems of hip and hip replacement. I will be reading out the question and the answer I will be answering myself. So what is hip arthritis? Well, hip arthritis, the word arthritis means destruction of the joint. Hip arthritis is destruction of the hip joint. It can be a primary osteoarthritis, which is age-related wear and tear, the way our car tires wear out, or it can be secondary osteoarthritis, wherein there is a definitive cause. Mostly it would be genetic, like juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, which is related to the HLA-B27 gene, or it could be avascular necrosis, where then the femoral blood supply is compromised, and that leads to death of the femoral head cells and leading to avascular necrosis of the femoral head. So all these conditions lead to destruction of the hip joint, where the ball, the congruity, the sphericity, the spherical ball is flattened, the congruity is destroyed, and the joint cartilage, the joint space is destroyed. The perfectly circular femoral head is no longer circular, and that leads to arthritis. So these are all hip arthritis, and this is what is hip arthritis, the destruction of the hip joint. What is hip replacement surgery? How does it work? Well, in hip replacement surgery, we replace the hip joint with a prosthetic ball and cup mechanism. Like this is the prosthesis which is used. This is the cup, the cup is replaced. This is the ball, or the head of the femur is replaced, and this is put inside the femur bone like this. And this is basically hip replacement. So this is a prosthetic replacement of the hip joint, where the ball and the socket is replaced. And this is known as hip replacement, which can be cemented, which can be uncemented. These implants can be put with bone cement. This implant can be put without bone cement in a press fit manner, so that bone ingrows on that, and that is known as uncemented hip replacement. So this is what is hip replacement, and this is how it works. A person after replacement, the hip joint can move in all directions. You can run on it, you can walk on it, and you can do everything ranging from cycling to playing badminton. So this is how it works. Somebody said, how do I know if I need a hip replacement? Well, hip replacement is done for arthritis of the hip joint, and of course in certain cases because of fractures of the hip joint. Once arthritis starts, there will be pain in the groin coming down to the thighs, radiating to the thighs, and most importantly there will be a painful limp. The person will be limping. That's known as antalgic gait. What it means is that there is painful walking, there is a painful limp. So that condition needs a hip replacement. To start with, the pain is only on walking, but gradually it starts while a person is lying down on bed also, and at rest also. And most importantly, along with pain, the range of movement of the hip joint is grossly compromised. Patient finds difficult to walk, and the sad thing is that patient finds it very difficult to sit on the chair also. So even sitting is painful. That is the problem with hip arthritis. There is painful limp, there even sitting on chair is painful. Even turning sides at night while sleeping is painful. That is the problem with hip arthritis. What are the advantages or benefits of having hip replacement? Well, hip replacement is one of the most successful surgeries in medical sciences. It restores painless and stable movement. It restores the joy of movement. It restores the joy of living for a person who is suffering from hip arthritis. So the pain is gone, the range of movement normalizes, the walking normalizes, the painful limp is gone, the limb length discrepancy is gone, the limb length is equalized. So that's the advantages of hip replacement, and it's a magical surgery to a considerable extent. What is the success rate of hip replacement? Well, hip replacement, as we discussed, it's the most successful surgeries. It's one of the most successful surgeries in medical science. For an experienced surgeon, for a person who is doing it regularly, I would go to the extent of saying that it's nearly 100% successful. It's very, very predictable surgery, and I promise that it will be successful for somebody who comes to me for that. What are the types of hip replacement? Well, hip replacement, as we saw, it's basically two varieties. One is cemented, the implants are put with bone cement, and the other one is uncemented, that is implants are put without bone cement in a press fit manner so that bone ingrows on that. That is known as uncemented hip replacement. Well, as far as the bearing surface is concerned, first let me tell you what is the bearing surface. Bearing surface is the surface which moves. There is a bearing surface. So this femoral head, it can be made up of a cobalt chromium alloy which can be very highly polished, or it can be made up of ceramic which can also be very highly polished. Ceramic is a pretty light but very hard material. Ceramic is very hard material. And inside this cup, normally nowadays we use my preferable, what I prefer personally, most of us prefer it, ultra high molecular polyethylene, which is highly cross-linked. It's a highly cross-linked molecular form of ultra high molecular polyethylene, which gives a semi-hard surface, and that highly cross-linked form increases the lifespan of the implant. So this is the bearing surface, and the bearing surface mostly nowadays we have large heads. And highly cross-linked. Head can be ceramic or cobalt chromium. Sometimes to increase the head size further, wherein there is chance of dislocation like neurodeficit or muscle weakness, whenever there are neurological conditions like Parkinson's, or there is muscle weakness, in that case we may need to increase the head size further. In that case, this poly which is supposed to be in the cup is taken out and it is put on the head itself, and the metal liner lies in the cup. The socket is made up of metal, and this moves like this it has got 2 degrees of movement. 2 degrees of movement. One is this, it moves like this, and at the end of movement even the plastic moves inside the metal cup. So that is known as dual mobility hip replacement, and the advantage is that the effective head size is enormously increased. The head size becomes 52 millimeters, 56 millimeters as compared to earlier 32 or 36 millimeters. So this is known as dual mobility hip replacement. It has got specific indications in which it is used, mostly when there is a neurodeficit or muscle weakness, or there are conditions which can predispose to dislocation. In that case we use this large head dual mobility hip replacement. What is minimally invasive surgery? Well, presently most of the surgical techniques are involved with a more anatomy preserving approach. What it means is that we trying to preserve more and more of the anatomy, disturb less, cut less, and stitch less. So that is minimally invasive hip replacement. Like most surgeries, here in the muscle cutting and all is minimized, the blood loss is minimized, and the recovery is very fast. So most of us tend to do it in a minimally invasive manner, which is known as minimally invasive hip replacement. What are the surgical approaches? Somebody has asked, which is better surgical approach, anterior or posterior? Well, the hip joint can be approached from back side or from front side. So that is known as anterior or posterior surgical approaches. To a considerable extent, it depends on the comfort, the choice of the surgeon. Like mostly it's the surgeon who chooses which approach to use, because he may feel more comfortable in some approach. So it is that way the surgical training has been there, the surgeon has been trained, so that decides the approach of the hip, which approach will be used for hip replacement. But certain extent, well, in some cases wherein the deformity is there, considerable deformity is there, we decide the approach based on the deformity. Most of the hip arthritis would have flexion deformity. So the anterior capsule is tight. It's the anterior capsule which is tight because of the flexion deformity. That is, the hip joint is bent like this. So in that case, anterolateral approach may be preferred, because in that approach the anterior capsule is cut and that releases the deformity completely. Some people do argue that anterior approach has more stability than posterior approach. In cases of severe deformity like ankylosing spondylitis, and when there is deformity, I do prefer nowadays to use anterolateral or a direct anterior approach. I also prefer anterolateral or anterior approach nowadays. What is, somebody has asked, what about hip resurfacing? Well, in hip resurfacing and replacement, there is a basic difference. In hip resurfacing, the femoral head completely is not replaced, only the surface is replaced. So that gives a bigger head, only the surface is replaced, but the bearing surface and hip resurfacing is metal on metal, and to a considerable extent metal on metal has been discarded now. So hip resurfacing is less common nowadays with large head and dual mobility hips coming on. Hip resurfacing has being less used, and the trend has decreased now, and the trend is against resurfacing now. Somebody wants to know how long will a new hip joint last? Well, hip joint has a very long life, and the uncemented hip in which the bone ingrows, the chance it's more biological, the chances of loosening are very less. In that case, the uncemented hip implants are supposed to last 40 or 45 or even 50 years. Cemented hip may have slightly lesser lifespan because the cement tends to loosen because of the polyethylene debris or even otherwise because of repeated stress. The cement may try to loosen, so cemented hip may have slightly less lifespan as compared to the uncemented hip. But again, it's not, there is no rule of the thumb, and it's the surgeon's decision based on the situation, that particular situation with which we are dealing, which to be used. But mostly in young people we use uncemented, and in older people we use cemented hip replacement. Several times we use something called hybrid, in which the cup is uncemented because it's a ball, it's a cup, it's a socket. The socket is uncemented and the stem is cemented. That is known as hybrid hip replacement. That's also quite in fashion, quite commonly used, because if we come to revision, that means redo surgery. In that case, cemented hip replacement is easier to revise, may be easier to revise than uncemented. Uncemented may be more difficult to revise because the bone ingrows on that, and that's really difficult to take out the implants in revision cases. How do you take care of your incision? So incision site can be stitchless or it can have stitches. If it is stitchless, the bad dressing can be removed after 5-6 days and the patient can take shower, the person can take shower. If there are stitches are generally removed after 2 weeks, 12 to 14 days after surgery. In that case, the dressing better be there till 14 days, and after stitch removal, we take out the dressing and person can take shower. How long will I stay in hospital? Mostly the hospital stay is 3 days. We do all the workup, that is the basic investigations before admission itself. We do all the workup, that is the basic investigations before admission itself, and after surgery, next day we make walk. We do again check hemoglobin levels and urea, creatinine, all those things. And after a couple of days, we discharge the patient because minimally invasive recovery is very fast. By the time you discharge, by a couple of days, we make you go to washroom independently. We make you climb stairs and few steps or few steps. It's not like that from the second day we'll make you climb from ground floor to fourth floor. It's not like that. So it all happens gradually. But after 2 to 3 days, a person is fit for discharge, and normally we discharge. We prefer that recovery should be more. We prefer the recovery to be at home rather than in hospital. Do I have pain during or after the surgery? Well, it's completely painless. During the surgery, there is no question of pain. We use regional anesthesia. Sometimes, based on patient's choice, we may use general anesthesia, but normally we use regional anesthesia. It's absolutely painless. No question of pain during surgery. And after surgery also, we have multimodal pain controlling modalities. It's painless. We use something called nerve block. We use transdermal patches, and minimally invasive surgery, the cutting is minimal. It is less. It is really less, and hence the chances of pain is anyway reduced. When can I take bath or shower after the surgery? Well, after the surgery, if it's a stitchless surgery, you can shower after 3 to 4 days when the dressing will be taken out after 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 days. If stitches are there or skin staples are there, normally they are removed after 12 to 14 days of surgery. Then it's better to wait till 12 to 14 days after the dressing is off, stitches are removed, and then you can shower. Before that also, even in that case you can shower. There are wash-proof dressings, there are swim-proof dressings which can be used, and you can take shower from the second day. So all those things are there. For the first couple of weeks, we prefer to use a supporting aid like a cane or walker till your muscles become strong. Because see, the implant that we put is at its full strength right in the operation theatre itself. But muscles need to develop, muscle strength need to come. So till then, for stability and balance, it is better to use some kind of walking aid, whether it be walker or a stick. It's better to use that, and after a couple of weeks you can discard everything and you can go to your office without any walking aid. When can I start walking unaided? Mostly after a couple of weeks you can start walking unaided. You can walk to your office by a couple of weeks, and that's how the recovery is. The recovery is really fast and minimally invasive, but first week or so it's better to use a walking aid just for stability. When can I drive? Well, after 4 to 6 weeks, you can start driving, whether it be a 4-wheeler or a 2-wheeler. Slightly earlier, slightly easier to drive a 4-wheeler as compared to drive a 2-wheeler. But still, by 4 to 6 weeks, you will be able to drive comfortably a 4-wheeler. How far should I walk each day after hip replacement? Well, you start walking from the very next day. Walking itself is a very good exercise for hip muscles. Principally the abductors of the hip. The more you walk, the better it is. But there is no hard and fast rule. You should not force yourself to in anything. You can stretch yourself, but don't force yourself. So you walk till you are comfortable. What exercises should I do after hip replacement? Mostly it's hip abductor muscle strengthening exercises, gluteal strengthening exercises. So hip muscle strengthening exercises are done, and walking itself is a very good hip exercise. What sports activities are allowed after hip replacement? Well, the full recovery takes around 6 to 8 weeks. After that, you can start playing non-contact sports like badminton, or you can table tennis and all those things you can start playing. You can do running, you can do cycling, swimming, horse riding, all these things you can do. And contact sports should better be avoided. Contact sports, what it means, like football, contact sports like hockey, all those things should better be avoided after any joint replacement. What all are required to be ready at my home for return after THR? Well, by the time you return home, you can go to your washroom. But if your commode is on the lower side, you can make ready a commode raiser. You can elevate the seat of the commode by 4 to 6 inches. You have to have a walking aid like a walker or a cane. And of course, preferably you should not be alone. So somebody should be around you for the first couple of weeks. So this is adequate. What about the blood transfusions during hip replacement? Well, we do unilateral or bilateral hip replacement. Unilateral means we do operate on one side at a time, and in bilateral simultaneous means we operate both sides in the same sitting. If we operate both sides in the same sitting, mostly we need blood. And if we operate only one side in one sitting, mostly we do not need blood. Of course, the hemoglobin, for us not to need blood, the hemoglobin level should be reasonably good before surgery. And with the minimally invasive surgery, the blood loss is less. We try our best to do minimal blood loss and not to use blood if it is one side is being operated. But after surgery, we check the hemoglobin, and if needed, we have to give blood sometimes. What type of anesthesia will be given for surgery? Well, mostly it's regional anesthesia, that is spinal or a regional anesthesia. Nerve blocks are used. But sometimes if person prefers to be under general anesthesia, we do give general anesthesia also. What should I do to prevent dislocation? Well, in my opinion, a well done hip by experienced surgeons should never dislocate. If I do a hip replacement, I am very confident that it will never dislocate. So don't worry about dislocation if a surgery has been well done. But still, there are certain postures that should be avoided. Squatting should be avoided. That is, squatting should be avoided. We must use commode, and squatting should be avoided. Even if it doesn't dislocate, it is a dangerous position after any joint replacement. So squatting should be avoided. What are the possible complications? Well, if you talk of possibilities of complications, there are many things that theoretically can happen, but in the hands of an experienced surgeon, experienced team, generally there are no complications, almost nil complications are there. Of course, the surgeon and the team has to be experienced, the team and the surgeon have to be regularly doing it. So it's a very predictable surgery, the results are very predictable with almost nil complications. What are the permanent restrictions after hip replacement? Well, the permanent restriction would be not to squat. The person should not be squatting on floor. Person should be using commode, and we should avoid contact sports like football, hockey. Those contact sports should be avoided. Other than that, you can do running, you can do cycling, swimming. In your personal life, you can do almost anything that a normal person does. So you can do almost everything after hip replacement. How do I choose a surgeon for my hip replacement? Well, as far as the results of the surgery are concerned, the surgical expertise, the expertise of the surgeon is the single most important thing which determines the results. So choose a surgeon who is doing this surgery regularly, that's most important. Is insurance cashless mediclaim accepted? Yes, I and my team, we accept all kinds of insurances, mediclaims, we all accept all kinds of government health schemes. We are here to offer our expertise. I am here to offer my expertise to you, to anybody who needs it, irrespective of the financial situation or the insurance. I am here to do my best and to offer my expertise, because I feel that my expertise is valuable only if it is used. If it is not used, it is not valuable. So I am ready to offer my surgery to anybody who needs it. What is the cost of hip replacement? Well, the cost to some extent depends on the type of insurance, because every insurance have their own packages. To some extent it depends on the type of hospital where I do the surgery. For example, a bigger hospital may have slightly more charges, a smaller hospital may have slightly lesser charges. So it all depends, but the average cost of a uncemented hip replacement will be around 1,70,000, 1,75,000. The cost of a cemented hip replacement may be lesser, around 1.5 lakhs. But there is range, it all varies there are factors which determine it. But of course, the single most important thing is the surgical expertise and the experience. So with this, we have discussed some of the questions that have been coming to me on mail or WhatsApp. You are welcome to send all your queries, your doubts, your apprehensions, your anxieties. You can ask me anything and everything. You can WhatsApp me on 9831911584, or you can mail me at santdr@gmail.com. Thank you.